Today, we are so excited to be having a dating expert, someone who has an amazing dating podcast on. Her name is Sabrina Zohar. She is the multifaceted entrepreneur and media figure responsible for coaching hundreds of thousands of people to start doing the work to improve their dating life, their relationships with others, and more importantly, their relationships with themselves. Welcome to the podcast, Sabrina.
Hi, girl. So good to be here. Thank you for having me.
We're so excited to have you. Yeah, of course. We talk about dating so much and from the lens of like mental health and how we're supposed to put our best foot forward and getting to ourselves all at the same time. It's like healing isn't linear, all these things, right? So we're so excited to get into the conversation, but always a check-in with everyone. What is in your cup today? What are you literally sipping on? And what is in your cup of life? How are you feeling?
Oh, so I'm literally sipping on, I'm a water girl. I'm one of those freaks that's like, I love, if I don't have water, I love Coca-Cola. So it's too much of a pendulum swing. And so I am drinking my trace mineral water because I need to be hydrating a little bit better. And I think in my life cup, I mean, gal pals, I am through a transition right now. It has been in my cup is stepping into who I am and letting go of who I thought I was and embracing the newness, embracing stepping into my power. And so with that comes a lot of transition. So there's a lot of murky waters, but I'm really excited to see how they clear up and then where this is going to go.
Yeah, good. We love that.
I
understand. We understand the murk. Yeah, honestly, I am kind of having that similar thing where it's like I moving into this new version of myself, but also like grieving an old version of myself. And actually, I won't get too much into it, but I had a dating relationship recently, like literally Saturday, where I saw like an old version of Christina and like how she kind of operates in that, like needing validation and like relationships and stuff like that. And I was like, oh, I don't like that. Let's leave her behind because we've learned, we've progressed, we're trying to move forward. So I definitely feel you on that sentiment.
It's been interesting, especially with the like, how do you grow and evolve while also honoring who you were, right? Like, and being able to hold space of, I can grieve the ending of this, but I can also let all these different parts of me know, thank you. Like, thank you for creating things. Thank you for being there. Thank you for supporting me. Because I think, I'm curious your experiences as well, but I think we have normalized this, like, kill the ego and get rid of anything negative. But what we haven't really normalized is how do you actually learn to live with the parts of yourself that did show up? How can we learn to move forward knowing that there are parts of me that I don't think are lovable? There are parts of me that I think are really, really tyrant and acting up. But at the end of the day, those parts are protecting us from something. They were trying to keep us safe at some point in our life. And that's why for me, it's so important for me to also give gratitude for those experiences. Because like your girl was a hot mess. I was the epitome of a hot mess. Look it up in the dictionary and there's my photo. And I look back at that version of me with so much gratitude because I know she was doing the best she could with the information that she knew. But I also know now I'm so proud of where I've become and who I've become. So I am glad that we're having this conversation of grief and allowing the endings to come because it makes space for what's actually for us.
Exactly. Yeah. Yes. And if you hadn't been that girl in the past, you wouldn't be able to talk to thousands, if not millions of people about dating because you wouldn't have it from an informed place of like, look, I was that crazy girl and I was able to like really address my patterns and really get a hold of my anxiety and emotions. And now I can show up better in relationships. So we always have to, like you said, have gratitude. But just to get started, jump right into it. So I listened to you on Han's podcast, How I See It, for everybody listening. And I was sat the entire episode. I think I was like driving from here in Temecula down to like Carlsbad or something like that. So I had like a longer drive. And so I was sat for the whole thing and I was like, wow, like this is such, like it was exactly what I needed to hear that day. It's just so funny how like things are aligned that way. But something that you mentioned that really was like thought provoking for me is there seems to be this trend of people blaming like their dating patterns on being an empath or, being a deep feeler. And it's like, while I want to hold space for people who like do identify as somebody who is a little bit empathic, let's talk about like how true or untrue this may be and how we're maybe using that as a crutch.
Totally. And I love Han. She's so fantastic. So, and I didn't realize that we were all local. I used to live in Carlsbad, so not anymore, but how, was fun. Okay. So I think when it comes to the conversation, I understand it because I used to have a friend and every time something would happen, she'd go, well, but I'm an empath. And it got to a point where after a while, I was like, explanation or excuse, right? Like it's one thing to say, oh, I'm more empathic. I feel more than other people might feel. Okay, cool, valid. Cool. I totally understand that. I'm a highly sensitive person. I completely understand that I might feel it a little differently. But I think where it starts to get muddy is a lot of people are using that as an excuse. And really where it can come
Mhm.
is oftentimes empathy can actually just be anxious attachment on overdrive. Because when you're hypervigilant, when you're constantly monitoring somebody else's emotions and feelings, when you are taking how you're feeling is now suddenly how I'm feeling, that's no longer empathy, right? At that point now, we are going into coping mechanisms. We're going into, for a lot of people, like the girl that I was explaining, when she would say, oh, I'm an empath. It's like, no, dude, you're just living in your trauma because this guy said something to you that you didn't like. And now all of a sudden your entire day is ruined. And you're saying, well, he's going through a tough time, so I'm going through a tough time. It's like, no, that's also codependency.
Right.
Right. So we can have empathy. We can have sympathy for other people. I can understand right now, like before we came on, I was talking about my tooth surgery. If you've had that, you can say, oh my God, I know how you feel. It is so terrible. I get it. Oh, my heart goes out to you. But if I'm having tooth pain and all of a sudden your whole day is completely ruined because of my experience, well, then what happens is it's actually like there's a lot of hypervigilance taking place. It's constantly scanning for safety, looking at the behavior, trying to assess where are they, what are they, what's happening, right? And that's where we start to lose and go from, oh, okay, I understand how you're feeling to now all of a sudden your feelings now become my problem. And that's where I think we get a little muddied. And, it's funny, when I first started dating my partner, he said, I don't believe in empathy. And I was like, are you fucking, like, who are you? What's wrong with you? And what he actually meant was he's more into stoicism and he's more into, he says, I can understand what you're going through, but I don't want to feel what you're feeling because then that means I'm putting myself into your shoes. Okay, fine, fine, fine. We want to look at it in a different way. And I said, okay. But at the end of the day, he learned he does have empathy. When I'm going through something, he says, I might not have ever experienced it, but I understand how you could feel. Great. That's a big difference. Then I'm going to feel what you feel.
Right. Right. Yeah. As a highly
And
sensitive
so,
person, it's taken me such a long time to not attach, because I think that like wherever you fall on the spectrum of empathy or being highly sensitive, it's like you tend to then attach yourselves because it's almost this need to like, well, let me fix it. Let me make it feel better. Or like, I feel this so deeply that now I identify with that or I identify with you. It really is a practice of like breaking that habit and not attaching to other people's feelings or experiences.
And to your point, that fixer, right? Like they're like, oh, I'll just fix it. That's actually, so I was just talking to Dick Schwartz yesterday, who created IFS. And that's actually a part. So when we have the fixer, that could usually be a protector part, because what happens is that part comes out going, I'm uncomfortable. What you're going through is making me, I don't like it. So let me fix it because then I can get rid of, or what you're going through is triggering me. I don't like where it's taking me. So let me focus on you. And then if I focus on you, I don't have to deal with what's coming up from me. And oftentimes with the fixer, it's also let me also preface, everything that we're talking about today doesn't mean anybody is a bad person at all.
Right.
There's no judgment, there's no shame, there's no blame. Somewhere along the way, we learned I need to put my needs aside, because if I can fix what's going on, if I can take care of this, if I can make it, then one, I have all the control. And that feels really good when you don't feel like you have any. Two, I can make everything okay, and then I don't have to deal with it. And three, I get to avoid dealing with what's coming up for me. And so it sounds on paper of like, oh, they're just trying to help. And it's like, but where is the fine line between trying to help and then trying to avoid what's coming up?
Exactly. Yeah. Which leads me to kind of a question off our last question is, how can we, as people showing up on this spectrum of being a deep feeler, I'll put it that way, how can we focus on our emotional health so that we can show up better in relationships? Because we do know it starts with us.
100%. I think what's really important is there's a couple of things. One, if you want to start to show up differently, then we have to understand what are the patterns and behaviors that I've learned to begin with. So it's like taking an inventory and stock of, okay, I'm known to be a fixer. I'm known that like my pattern is that when I feel uncomfortable, I automatically go in. Okay, so then my second question will be, so what are my choices? What are my choices in the moment? Okay, so what are my tools and my regulating techniques? So if I'm a highly sensitive person, and I used to be to the point where people made fun of me, they're like, God, everything makes Sabrina get upset or sensitive. Everything. would cause me to cry, to get upset, to get irate, to get frantic, right? And really what that meant is I didn't have any control on my emotions. I'm not saying that you're not allowed to have the emotions. Of course you are. But what I am saying is that we need to be able to regulate our nervous system, come back into the present moment and understand what is actually happening right now. Like, is this a threat? Is this really somebody that says something to me, or that there's a real issue, right? Or am I projecting my discomfort onto them? Am I trying to avoid, right? And so I think it's a couple of things. One, start to notice the sensations in your body. If we really think, because so many of us are trying to intellectualize, by the time we actually get there, your prefrontal cortex is shut off and you probably don't even know what's going on. So instead, what we want to do is, okay, if I feel like I need to overgive or empathize, right? If I constantly see that I'm getting so worked up about something, then what I want to first do is take a pause. And the power of the pause changed my fucking life. I'm not going to lie. Being able to just stop and sit in a discomfort of like, I really want to fix this right now, but I also know that that's not my job. And so I'm going to sit with what's coming up for me. And then we have something called secondary gains. What are my primary gains might be, oh, I don't want to have to deal with that. What are the secondary gains? Okay, if I focus on them, the secondary gains are, cool, I don't have to deal with what's coming up for me. The secondary gains are, if I stay in this relationship, I don't have to acknowledge that I actually do deserve better. And then I don't have to deal with the fact that for a long time I didn't, more and the fact that I never got it, right? You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
There are typically always secondary gains. So we have to understand, if I'm a highly sensitive person, what are my secondary gains of staying in that versus what are my choices and how can I actually be able to support my partner and have an understanding of, oh my God, I'm so sorry you're going through that. But then having it stop and go, okay, but this is where it stops, right? I cannot now overgive and overcare and over empathize with you, because then I've lost control of my own emotional needs and wants and desires to take care of you. And I'm not your fucking police. Right. Have you ever had that? No, I was gonna say, have you guys ever had that where you've realized in the moment, you're like, I think I'm overstepping in the bounds?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, we've had to completely reframe how we think about empathy and highly sensitive people as this superpower that really needs to be like honed in and treated very delicately, because it requires a lot of personal responsibility and accountability. What are the parts of ourselves that we're very much abandoning and ignoring so that we don't have to deal with that shit, because it's like, my focus is somebody else. Like, I don't have to worry about me at all.
Right. Yeah.
Exactly.
You know,
Yeah.
and so it kind of speaks to, you know, knowing yourself in a certain way and how we're going to be able to connect with others, or are we completely disconnected from others? It's kind of this epidemic, I feel like, that we're all collectively feeling, this loss of connection with one another. And we feel like part of the reason that dating shows and media and podcasts, just in general as a whole, are so popular right now, and it's really, like, as Wendy Williams says, hot topics. And so we just want to know, because there's this collective frustration also with the loss of connection with one another, is there not necessarily something or someone to blame, but how much of a role does social media and dating apps play into this?
Okay. So, and I think it's a valid question. I think the dating app conversation, I don't live under a rock, right? Like, I'm not going to sit there and be like, what, dating apps are causing anxiety? No shit. It's like, yeah, I was on them, right? I met my partner on Hinge, so I had to use the fucking app in order to meet him. Yeah. So I get that. I will be here all day. And I think that there's a couple of things. Am I going to blame 100% on the company? No, that would be irresponsible to be like, it's all their fault, because at the end of the day, then that takes away our personal accountability. And I think that there's a few things that are causing a lot of issues right now. One, when it comes to the dating apps, our bodies, our brains, our nervous system is not prepared for this type of technology. We are still in hunter-gatherer phase in our evolution. And now all of a sudden, at any given time, I have full access to anybody on the planet at any second of the day. And what that's done is it's bred a lot of arrogance, it's bred a lot of entitlement, and it's bred a lot of the like, well, why are you on a dating app? You should be here for the reasons I'm on, without people understanding like, oh, wait, maybe people are having other lived experiences. Maybe not everybody wants the same thing as me, right? We don't really take stock of it. We just automatically assume, well, I'm doing this, so thus you should be doing this. So I think there's a big disconnection off the bat because of technology and cell phones and things like that. We have opportunities, instead of being like, wow, I'm really uncomfortable right now, I can just grab my phone. I can grab my phone and doom scroll for 7 hours and then completely bypass anything that's coming up for me. Whereas, I don't know about you guys, but I went hiking a lot recently and we forgot our phones, and I was just sitting there and just like, I was like, wow, so this is because Ryan went to go do something for the dog. He had to pee, he was doing that. And I was just alone and sitting on a stump. And I was like, so this is what it feels like to just have to be with myself with nothing in my surroundings. And I loved it. A lot of people don't do that. So I think there's, the casino always wants to win, but I also think that as humans and as people that are engaging on dating apps, your responsibility on a dating app is to become a better buyer. Your responsibility is to understand, how am I showing up? What are my photos? What are my prompts? Am I showing up in the ways that I want to? This is my resume. This is my calling card. This is the first. If I leave the house and I go to the bar, am I going to look like a schmo? No, I'm going to put my makeup on. I'm going to take care of myself. I'm going to show up with my confidence because it's my first impression. Now, the only difference is it's on a screen and not in front of my eyeballs. Okay.
Right.
So that's the second thing is, what am I looking for? Right? I can't tell you how many people will show me profiles they go for, and I'm like, there was no depth. They didn't have anything on there that they were cute. Okay, so they were tall and they were, attractive. Great. So were so many other people. And then the third thing is, what is my relationship to the apps? Am I on a dopamine reward system that every time I get a message, I'm getting excited and going on? Am I projecting that, well, I haven't met anybody, this is my only chance? Am I putting a lot of pressure onto the apps because it's another way of meeting people? To anybody listening, do you go out to a bar and every single night you're like, I have to meet them? Why isn't this No, you go, you enjoy your night. If you meet somebody, you meet someone. If you don't, you go home. And that's, I think, the energy we need to bring to the apps, because it started to work for me when I changed my relationship to how I saw the apps and to because I would get a guy as a heterosexual woman, just speaking in those norms, please insert any pronoun that feels comfortable. Mm-hmm. I was talking to people on there, to gentlemen, and if they didn't answer, that was it. I'd be hyperventilating. I'd be hyperfixating. I would look, and why did they call me? Why did they text me? I don't understand. I'd look at their messages, but I swear, but we had this conversation. What can I say to get them back? Instead of going, yeah, this doesn't work for me. Right? I'm not going to force a connection here. I was so hyper fixated on it. This is what's going to save me. This is how I'm going to find my person. And then I got really, really bummed. So that's the one aspect. Then we go into the social media component. I love social media for the sense, I created my career. I'm grateful. Don't get me wrong. I'm not going to bite the hand that feeds me. But unfortunately, not everybody uses it with the same responsibility. And there's a lot of, if I go on to Insta, TikTok, and one more fucking time to TikTok University and see if somebody says this, they're avoidant. And it's like, I'm sorry, you have no data and understanding to give this type of feedback. What conversation did you have with this person? What else have they exhibited? Nope, they're not a narcissist. That person just sounds like an asshole. Right. There's a lot of conflicting information. And I think a lot of people, what we've gone to now is because things like ChatGPT, I don't know if you guys saw, MIT just did a study that showed that ChatGPT is ruining our critical thinking capabilities because we don't actually have to critically think about anything. It gives it to us. And I find that that's kind of the culture that we're in right now, is like, I don't want to have to actually work at this. I want you to just tell me what I need to do, and I want you to do it and get it done with, please. Thank you. What do you mean I have to work for it? It's like, yeah. Doing this work, coming home to yourself, having a healthy and secure relationship fucking takes work. Running a business takes work. Waking up in the morning takes work for me. Everything that to me matters takes work. And I feel like we've been sold this false bill of goods because at any second, I can just go on Insta and find the content I want. I can find what resonates with what I'm looking for, as opposed to what do I actually need, which is where I start to see the difference. Because I know girls, we have the same internet. If I go on TikTok one more time and see a guy if a guy doesn't text you every day, he doesn't like you. It's like, and now please tell me, how's his relationship? What depth is he bringing to the table? Instead of some guy sitting in his car giving you this advice, but you want to hear it. So it's going to resonate for you because we go looking for what it is that we're trying to find.
Oh, yeah.
And then we train the algorithm.
Yeah.
And they're like, oh, you like this girl? Watch this.
I want to go. I'm glad that you brought that up because I wanted to go deeper on it. I had to ask her because I didn't really know what this whole red pill, blue pill thing was until we started watching Love Island, and we're just kind of seeing how some of the islanders are behaving. I had no idea what it meant. I don't listen to Andrew Tate or whoever talks about it. I don't seek out content that tells you that the other person is the problem, because what does that do? It's just creating so much divide, and the black cat and the golden retriever and all these different tropes, that we've made of you need to be chased, you're a queen, blah, 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 all these things. And now guys are telling them well, no, you're the prize, you need to be chased. And it's we're all just fucking confused because we're okay, well, what is it? Yeah. And who is creating these, concepts? And it's well, why don't we just look at their relationships? And it's well, are they happy and fulfilled? Are they having, secure secure attachments and healthy conversations with people? It's the internet just kind of runs rampant with things, and I think that also is adding to this frustration a lot of the time.
100%. I am so guilty of that. The other day, there's this one creator on TikTok that's getting a lot of hot water, rightfully so. She sucks. And I saw a video and I was like, oh my God. And I started telling Ryan. And then I looked at the comments and they were like, this isn't real. And I was like, oh shit. I so quickly just ate right into it because I wanted to believe it because she sucks so bad. And I wanted to believe that that's why.
Yes.
But I couldn't, right? And I think to your point, it's a really good point to make is like, who is creating, their goalposts keep changing. Who is creating this? And that's why even with me, people will say, what, somebody came at me and said, well, you have all these rules. I said, what rules do I have? Where did I create it? I was like, because what I'm saying might not work for you. And that's okay. You're allowed to have a different lived experience. But what I'm doing is saying at the end of the day, can't control any of that. All I can do is control this. And yeah, the red pill content, I only learned about that when I created a TikTok. And you want to know why? Because sometimes there's different algorithms, like on TikTok and Instagram, there's like 6 different algorithms. And I somehow got involved in the manosphere, like that, where all of a sudden you're like, whoa, where are all these trolls attacking me, being like, you're lucky a man will look at you. And you're like, I'm giving you 3 fucking questions to ask on a first date. What are you?
Right. Where did this
And you
come
can
from?
just see the comments are so manic. And that's when I realized, like, we have to remember these people exist. And like my partner always says, think about the stupidest person that you know and remember that 49% of the population is dumber.
Yes.
There's a lot of stupid people out there and everybody has a keyboard and everybody has thumbs and everybody can leave comments. But what I look at is, I had one client, she said, my friend told me that my friend told me that I'm too much. And I said, what do you mean? She said, well, I wanted to have this conversation with the guy that I'm dating. And my good friend said, no, you're going to scare him off. And to me, I was like, she had nothing that she was saying was scary by any means.
Right.
And I said, can I ask you, would you date him? And like, would you switch lives with him? And she's like, oh God, no, he's super avoidant. He can't hold a relationship. He can't keep a girl. I said, so then what are you doing taking his dating advice? I said, he's telling you not to do that because he's projecting his insecurities. He's uncomfortable with what you're saying. So he's telling you don't do it. But then we have to stop and go, but do I want to become this person? Not really. So why the fuck am I going to listen to them?
Yeah.
Hello?
Exactly. I really
Right?
have to like ask myself, like, where am I getting my advice from and would I live their life, like what you said.
Mm-hmm.
So then our next question to that is, as people who do want to seek out healthy relationships, who do want to be in tune with themselves and their emotions, how do we then flip the script? And how do we kind of navigate this really strange time that we're living in for dating and say, like, I do want to show up intentionally. I want to show up authentically and find my person.
Oh, I think the biggest thing to remember is like, I love all of that. And I am so here for that. It's the same as when people tell me like, I only want to do in-person dating. Fuck the apps. I'm like, okay, cool. You know what then we're going to need to do? We're going to learn how to have to grieve. We're going to have to learn how to grieve because right now, when you want to start, anytime you start to change things, like people don't change. We can evolve, we can grow, we can rewire. You're not going to change. Character is destiny. Fundamentally, I'm not going to turn in tomorrow to become like a fucking nun, right? Like that's not going to happen. That's who I am.
Yeah.
And so what we have to also look at is that if I'm going on this journey, I'm going to have to say goodbye to a lot of people that have benefited from the unhealed version of me. I'm going to have to understand that as I start to set boundaries and say no to things that I used to say yes to, I'm going to lose people because they are there for the other version of me. I'm going to have to know that there's a lot of people out there that are not doing the work, that are not trying to show up any differently, that are okay to be Jeremiah on Love Island, who are just like, I'm in therapy, but I'm going to love bomb you. And to be fair, I do think he got the short end of the stick, which I'm sure we will talk about him.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Right? I do. I do kind of think he got a little shafted, but nonetheless, I thought that the way that all play had transpired, wasn't really stoked on it. Mm-hmm. And I think that there's just a lot of people, or the Hudas of the world, that are just going to go around and be fucking manic and scream and yell and you are a fucking bitch and all that and go insane and not stop and go, whoa, what's coming up for me? How do I feel in my body, right? There's a level of emotional maturity that most people are not going to reach. And I think if you want to start to go on this journey, you got to decide if you're okay to be one of those fewer people. And grieving the endings that are going to happen, grieving the fact that you're probably not going to just go out tomorrow and meet your person. You're still... And I think the common misconception I see with the healing journey is a lot of people have been sold this false bill of goods that healing means I'm never going to feel sad or I'm never going to feel anxious or I'm never going to feel these emotions. Oh, that's a crock of shit. Whoever told you that is lying. Healing will just mean that you have new tools and new capabilities to handle things differently, but you're still going to have the same emotions will still come up because you're a human. But what happens is you don't attach to the stories as much. You've learned to go, hey, whoa, I've worked through this. I don't need to go there immediately. That's not my gut reaction. My journey is this. We've learned that you're going to meet people, and at the end of the day, the reason you're healing isn't so that you don't meet them. It's that you can identify it and walk away from the ones that don't work. And so I think it's a lot of being okay with the fact that taking up space means you're going to piss people off who benefited from the fact that you stayed small.
Exactly. Yeah. And I'm very comfortable with sharing. I mean, we both share a lot of our
Please.
journey on here. So, as I mentioned, I had an experience this last weekend and I we set intentions in the car we were going to. Do you know what Drafted is? Have you heard of them?
No. Mm-mm.
They are a social club that they go to sports games and it's all singles. So they'll do
Oh,
like
fun.
they'll do like a pregame so you can go and you can meet people before, then you go to the game, and then they'll usually do something after, like let's go get dinner, let's go get drinks, whatever, whatever. So we made
Cute.
intentions, we're going down there, we're prepared to have like a really good time, and we still did. And I
Yeah.
still want to give myself grace for the fact that like my intention was to have a good time and I did, right? But I think it already set an expectation because it was like a dating event, right? And we get there and to be kind, there it was just slim pickings, right?
Yeah. I
You
know what you
know,
mean.
everyone's
Yeah.
at different places in their life. And so I kind of made some choices that, while I don't think they were wrong choices, I think that they're not choices that align with the person that I'm wanting to be now. And kind of like I
Fair.
said earlier, they align to like the younger, like Christina in her 20s. Like I grew up in Vegas and I was very much like party girl, crash out city, like I probably
She was
at times
outside.
looked like a huda. You know what I'm saying? Like I was just very like reactive,
Yes,
you know?
I get that.
Now I'm in my early 30s and I was diagnosed with OCD and I'm like, "Oh, that makes sense. It makes sense that I was always ruminating. I was always triggered down the line, right?" And so I made some of these decisions and then I really had to have like an emotional moment, and it's like I'm really grateful that I have somebody on this journey who is kind of looking for similar things or similar qualities in people, right? And is also, you know, exploring this new side of like being newly single and stuff. So I love that she's my safe person because I can just go to her and be like, "Oh my God, you know, in a safe container, right? That I'm not like completely like spiraling out." But really having that moment of like self reflection, it's like, it's okay that I did something that kind of felt violating to my conscience and that I don't normally do anymore. And that now I can take this as a step to like learn from it. And it's like, okay, these are why I have the tools I have, or maybe these are why I have the boundaries that I have. Like, I don't really like to drink a lot anymore. And so it's like, you know, in the spirit of this event, I kind of got a little swept up. I had way more to drink than I normally would. And that's okay. And so maybe things were a little bit blurred for me because I had more to drink. And it's like, how can you really like, I knew this person for like what, 12 hours, if that,
Flowers.
right?
Yeah.
And so allowing yourself to like still make the mistakes is okay. It doesn't mean that you're not still on your healing journey, because just because you decide to make different choices for yourself doesn't mean you're not going to still have those like, I wouldn't say rock bottom moment, but an emotional breakthrough.
So right there, what you just described is why you did the healing journey and what changed, right? What changed in the outcome? Okay, well, you still made a choice, right? Okay, I still made a choice. Maybe, like you said, might not be proud of it, might not be stoked on it, but I made the choice. What changed is if you were back before, you would have attacked yourself, you would have belittled yourself, you would have fucking spiraled, you would have been in this. But now you chose to have compassion for yourself and say, I did the best I could with the information I know. I'm a human. I've evolved. I moved on, right? Next day, I'm safe. Thank God I'm safe. I'm alive. I'm okay.
Right.
You're right. Nothing happened. I've got all my limbs. I'm okay. That right there is why you did the healing journey. You notice how maybe nothing changed. It's okay that you still made a human choice. That I make stupid decisions all the time. I've made videos before going, oh, I missed the mark. I missed the fucking mark. This wasn't it today, baby. But instead of being like, you're a fucking moron and spiraling and oh my God, I was like, hey, you have another day. You have another opportunity. You have tomorrow. If I'm lucky enough, I will get it. And I think that right there is how you do the work, because then what you do is instead of belittling yourself, shaming yourself, blaming yourself, doing probably what you had been done to you growing up, what you learn, that's how we
Right.
condition ourselves, going into those exile parts. What you learn to do is say, hey, I see you, I hear you, I love you. You reparented yourself to be the adult you didn't have when you needed somebody. And how did that result in, hey, I'm all right. I showed myself compassion. By showing yourself compassion, you also just gave yourself dopamine. So you are now feeding your own dopamine reward system, which means I can control my dysregulation a little bit more easily because I understand what I need to do to give myself what I didn't get growing up or what I'm hoping somebody else is going to give. And what a beautiful ending. It didn't work necessarily if you didn't find somebody, but you have somebody that you can now get even deeper with on your journey, which means that it was a success. The success wasn't that you met someone. We can't
Right.
control that. The success was that you learned, you grew, and you now realize even more that the person that you went with is somebody that's even closer to you than you thought before. And that's such a beautiful gift.
Right. And she's there to remind me because I kind of had that moment of like, well, like, why is it like, why hasn't he texted me? Or like, like, why, like, the vibes. I mean, I feel when things shift, right? So I'm like, you know what? Like, the vibes just kind of shifted. And why? Like, did I do something? Whatever. And she's like, well, why are you like, who's to say it's a problem with you? You know what I
100%.
mean? And so, kind of to my point earlier is like completely detaching from these stories. Like we try to fill the blanks in our head, and it's like I'm never gonna know. This person also isn't somebody that I feel like after taking the time to assess I want to continue dating, and so I don't need to torture myself with all of the whys.
Yeah, why is your brain's way of intellectualizing to avoid feeling the pain? So you further into that. And another way to also do is like, you could, I love it. What you did was you guys like, you had the version of this would be mental of like have a cup of coffee with your inner critic. But instead it's like, maybe we can also look and say, okay, how old did I feel? Oh, I felt like a kid, right? Okay. So that's the part of me that feels really scared right now because this person didn't text us. And maybe I can get curious about what that part's trying to protect me from. Oh my God, they didn't text you. Oh, that means he doesn't like you. Okay. How's this benefiting me? Is
Right.
that actually for my highest good? No, no, I think that comes from an anxiety spiral. Okay, what's that part afraid of? I'm going to be replaced, or nobody likes me, or I'm going to be forgotten, right? Whatever the, okay, so that's the real fear. So it means that that's valid. That part of me is definitely feeling this right now, but where the reality is that's geared towards mom and dad. That has nothing to do with this person. So now I get to be that version of me to let myself know that, like, hey, like you said, what is it? Why does it have to be something about me? It doesn't always mean that there's something wrong with me. And because I have no facts to back up that I did anything wrong, then I'm going to live in the space that I didn't. And that I'm really proud of the way that I showed up. And that sounds like a him decision.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I
Yeah.
listened to one of your episodes. You had, I forget their name, but they're like, I think a neuroscientist.
So there's Nicole Vignola or Britt Frank.
Nicole. Yeah.
I love
And
her.
you guys were just kind of talking about what the brain is doing when you're on the apps. Like you talk about a lot like the dopamine scroll and the dopamine hits and even this like the patterns that are going on in our brain. For people who like I mean, I'm somebody I asked her this literally the other day. I'm like, why do I keep attracting these types of people, right? Other people who are like highly sensitive or kind of on this healing path. What advice would you give them if they find themselves constantly attracting the same type of person?
Let's start to look at the patterns. And again, this is when I say what's the common denominator, I don't mean that you're the problem. That's not what I mean. What I mean is, what about the way I'm showing up is allowing these people into my life? Because you're going to still meet them, right? I used to only date narcissists. I loved them. Oh my God, that was like my thing because that's my dad. If you met my father, you'd be like, oh wow, she's not kidding. Textbook.
Yeah.
That was familiar. What happened was my nervous system was created to around that. And so now what I look at is it's not that I don't meet narcissists. Of course, they're still there. They still exist. They're still running around the planet. But now I have boundaries. Now I know how to stand up for myself and say no when I want to say yes. Now I know that right? So what we have to look at is what is the pattern? If the pattern is I'm a highly sensitive person and I consistently keep dating these people that are emotionally unavailable. Okay, so what's my part in that? Oh, I'm not being emotionally available either. I'm so focused on why they're not choosing me, but I haven't stopped to think about this doesn't work for me.
Right.
Oh, okay. Well, what's the pattern? They keep treating me poorly. Okay, but I allow it. I'm answering the phone calls. I'm responding to the text message. I'm talking shit to myself. And right? Again,
Hmm.
it's not about what am I doing wrong. It's what's in my control. What's in my control is that I can take stock. Because I used to date the same type of people and I would always be like, oh, it's just poor woe is me. And I just can't find somebody and everybody else. And I really want a relationship and they don't. No, bitch, it was not what it was. What it was I was so disconnected from myself. Yes, on paper, I wanted a relationship, but I didn't actually have the emotional capabilities and capacity to receive one. I
Yeah.
couldn't sit because when somebody didn't text me, I'd lose my shit or I'd start to go spirally or I would do this. It's like, oh, okay, so the way I was showing up was playing into the dynamic. And so I look at it as less about, because I think attracting, and I know what you mean, but like I think a lot of people look at this as like, but I'm not manifesting this. And that's not what I mean. I don't mean that like you're putting it out into the ether. No, but what I mean by that is, how am I showing up and what am I allowing? Because I get it. Oh, if like, oh, I overlooked those red flags. It's like, okay, well, that's it, right? That was it. Is that part of you thought that was normal? Now we look and go, that's a pattern because our brain and our nervous system, and like, this isn't to shame or blame anybody's parents. And this is not about blame your parents and don't take any accountability. But where did you learn it from? Where did you learn it from? How old do you feel? What memories does this remind you of? Where do I go? Oh, this reminds me of when I'm 6. What happened when I was 6? My dad used to say this. Okay, it doesn't mean that I'm talking to my father, but there's a part of me that my prefrontal cortex, which stopped growing at 28. So the part of my brain that's decision making, common sense, critical thinking, what's being fucked up by ChatGPT, that stopped growing at 28. So, and that's the same reason why, as like, you notice how a high schooler, you could tell them not to drink and drive and they're still going to do it because they don't have the capabilities to critically think. That part of their brain hasn't fully developed yet. But as an adult, when we get dysregulated or something happens, that part of our brain shuts off. So then what happens? You go into the amygdala, which is lizard brain. That is where the fear center, and that's where you hold onto emotions. That stopped growing at 6 years old. That's why oftentimes we can feel like a child. We react instead of respond. We go into fawn, right? Be the good girl. Don't say anything. Don't ruffle feathers. Shut your mouth and just let them do it. Now what we want to do is bring ourselves back online to the adult that's sitting here, the 35-year-old woman that knows who the fuck she is, that loves herself, that's accepted herself. And then now I get to say, am I still attracting those people? Because if I am, well, then I'm not being authentic to myself and I'm not showing up in the ways that I want. I might still attract them. You're right. I can still get people. I still have people every day. I might sit here and scream in my podcast, like, please speak with kindness. I read all the reviews. I'll still get people that are like, you speak too fast. And I sit there and I'm like, cool. So I just shared with you how that hurt me. I just told you to please not say that. And then you still come and fucking say that. So that shows I'm not like, what am I doing to attract these people? Well, that I can't take ownership of. But you know what I can say? I'm not going to allow it any further. I stand up for myself and you can go fucking kick rocks without shoes. Then if you still choose to be here, that's on you.
Exactly. I'll just say, I love the way you speak. I'm the kind of person I'm like, I like when people just get to the point. It's like you're very direct. And so I love the way that you speak. So just putting it out there.
Thanks, babes. I appreciate that. And look, and it's like, and you could say that, and then, you know, and there's somebody down the street being like, I hate it. And it's like, but that's the point of, but who am I? If I don't stand for something, I fall for everything. So if I'm constantly dating the same type of person, then I need to say, what is my part in it? Because I have to take radical accountability and ownership. But that's the thing. We can't go and be like, well, everything's my fault. It's like, okay, well, now the pendulum is swinging. But how can I stop in the middle and say, okay, what did I used to accept that I no longer am willing to? And what are ways that I didn't show up that I now want to? Now that's in your control.
Yeah, it's part of this whole, I mean, we have these conversations with one another, but I recently was like, as soon as I got into it, was like, I got out of it even quicker. It's like, oh no, the familiarity and it not in a good way just hit me over the head like it was a brick. You know,
Yeah.
I thought that like, oh, this person is so serious. They are so settled into themselves. I have a 4.5-year-old and I hadn't dated anyone else with kids before. He had a couple of kids himself that were a little bit older. So I'm like, he gets it. A parent, a couple things here and there that like I, in the moment, decided to extend grace. And now I understand like why the situation is what it is. But like, I mean, down to just the performative actions that this person was doing in front of me. And I was like, I have to go. And like,
Yeah.
just the constant, like everything was, it was like, it was a boulder. I'm like, well, let's do this and let's do that. And I want to meet your friend and I gotta go and we're gonna go here and we're gonna do that.
Girl,
share my calendar
he
with me.
wanted to share calendars. I was like, that's weird. You've been on one date with him. You know what I mean? It was
Like,
No.
like scheduling purposes because right, we both have busy schedules and he's got the kids and he also has a co-parent and I have a co-parent. So it was a lot of moving parts and I understand like maybe not even the why, but like I guess I understand like the scheduling part of it, but like it was so soon and I'm like, how about you just let me know when like your next free like day is? Right.
No,
You
that's
know?
control, right? That's
Yeah.
control. That's not, there's a difference. My partner has my calendar because he works for me and we need to schedule things. So of course he's like, hey, okay, I'm on your calendar right now. What, other than that, I'm also though, that's what freaks me out about oh, well, why won't my partner share their location? I'm like, I'm sorry, why are they sharing their location? Unless the only thing I say is like, you work late, you know, you go, like you're a woman driving home. I get it. There are circumstances, especially, but the difference is I'm asking to share my location with you. I'm not forcing that you need to share your location with me.
Right.
And so I think what you're exemplifying is a beautiful example of growth of the version that you used to be would have totally overlooked it and been like, sure, I'll give you my calendar. I'm going to avoid looking at myself and saying, I don't like this. And instead, it's not that you didn't meet these people, is that you saw it, you were out, you were able to get to the bottom of it quicker, and you didn't waste your goddamn time and you didn't lose yourself. That's huge.
And then
Yeah.
I
Quick. I was like, oh, yes.
in 24
really.
hours. Yeah.
Yeah.
I had
Smart.
a full, complete emotional breakdown in the car, but at least I got out.
That's all that
And
matters.
yeah, when I basically like called as like a grown woman does, and like, this is not working for me. Like my boundaries are being pushed a little bit too far. I got hung up on, and then text me after he hung up on me that, oh, by the way, like you left your jacket here and I threw it in the trash. I was like, perfect. I was like, exactly.
Proving my point. Thank you.
And you know what? And that's where you're just like, I'm really glad I listened to my gut.
100%. 100%. So shifting gears a little bit.
We had another question. I'm like, let's skip it because I would rather spend a couple minutes talking about Love Island.
The unstables.
Crazy behaviors for sure.
Yeah, the unstables. This season has been it reminds me of Love is Blind last year, where like it was such a hot mess and everybody was talking about it. It's like if I see one more thing on my feed of Love Island, it's like kind of ad nauseum.
Right.
But then I look and I'm like, how sustainable is this, right? You guys are going for performance and sensationalism and all that. But I'm wondering, and I'm curious your thoughts too, I wonder if it's going to have the same Love is Blind effect as like after last season, last year with the Megan Fox thing or whatever with that girl. The next season sucked. Like nobody cared. It was really boring. And I wonder now if Love Island, they had the season last year that hit. Now this year they're trying to make it happen, but they just have a girl on there. And I'm sorry, but I'm fairly convinced that this year is rigged. And I don't think that the votes are actually counting. Just saying.
Yeah.
Just saying.
Yeah, I agree. I think that this happens all the time in media is like it'll be a huge like hit season, right? And then the next one just kind of flops because they're just trying so hard to like manufacture things. I'm a huge Reddit girl. Like I love getting on Reddit because I feel like TikTok, like we say, the algorithm shows you what you want to hear. And I feel like people are also getting a little bit like, those are not my communities. I'll just put it right there. But Reddit, I feel like people are like have a little bit more common sense or like thinking through things. It's not a platform that rewards certain like clickbait like TikTok does. So it's like you're getting people like real unfiltered feelings. I think that people are getting to the point where they're exhausted. Like this isn't fun to watch anymore. And these people they don't seem to even really care about the love aspect. They're all focused on getting to the end. I'm like, well, hold up. In order to win, you have to get to the end with somebody who America like sees you actually have chemistry with.
Yeah, and believes it.
I was going to say, this all feels very performative. And what what makes me feel icky is all the people coming out after now being like, I dated this person and they, Taylor left me to go on the show and Jeremiah's a model and Nick is a model and they're all influencers. Right. I'm not going to lie. Sierra follows me and I didn't know that. And so I was like, my girl, I love her.
We've really liked her since the beginning. I think that she's really... honestly, probably one of the few people that have kept it pretty like genuine and 100 since she stepped foot. And
I
love her.
I'm proud of the combo she had with Nick the other day.
Me too.
I love that she showed up for herself. And with Huda, out of everybody, I really enjoy Sierra.
Me too. I love Sierra. I like Alandra. There's something I'm still trying to figure out about her. Shelly, I do like. I like Shelly. I do like kind of her, just like, whatever, dude. I don't know why we're freaking out. Like, she's also a baddie. She's like 25, got her own. I saw like a TikTok. She got her an apartment. She got her career. Like that girl's doing well. You can see she's like a little bit more advanced.
Yeah.
And then I think Amaya. Amaya and Nick should not be there. Or not Nick, Amaya and Austin. Amaya and Austin should not be there because, first of all, Austin is the epitome of avoidant. Like, classic avoidant. You notice how he went for Shelly because he couldn't have her. And then the second he found a girl that was into him, all of a sudden it's, I don't feel a spark, I don't feel it.
Oh, yeah. I know.
Right?
I was like, don't piss me off right now.
And then to be fair to his credit, Amaya, it's been 2 days and already you're like, this is it and we're the one and it's a connection. And like, truth be told, I understand the boundary. Same with Ace. Like when people call me babe and love too often, like you don't know me. Like I also get it's like, hey, could you stop with the nicety? Like I had to call this one guy and he kept saying my dear. And I did not work with him because I was like, it's enough. I've known you for an hour and you're calling me Sab, my dear, girl, babe, all this. And I'm like, what happens is when you start to do that performative cutesy shit, you're actually trying to force the intimacy and you're trying to force and expedite that connection that's just not there.
Yeah.
And I thought, truthfully, before Ace sent Jeremiah home, I was team Ace. Now I'm like, oh, that was salty and I don't get that.
That's a jealous person.
It's something that we really saw, like, what, episode 1, episode 2? Like, I kind of clocked it, kept it to myself, didn't, like, have enough evidence on this.
Yeah.
But I'm like, oh, he has a weird vendetta against Jeremiah because, like, really from episode 1, he was kind of putting him on blast and always putting him in the hot seat. I'm like, what is this about?
Right. Always asking him questions and doing it in front of everybody, which was a really important thing. Didn't, like,
didn't privately
pull him for a chat or anything. It was like, oh, I'm going to air out all his stuff right now in front of everyone.
And I'm torn with Jeremiah because I do think what he did with Huda was love bombing. It was classic. It was, coming. And also, not to mention, I saw fucking Taylor the other night when in Casa. One of the girls said something and his response was like her last name. And he's like, your last name would work really well with mine. And I was like, I'm done with this. Cut the shit. It's enough of this. Like, because what you're doing is you're setting a false sense of intimacy with this person and you're setting a reality that's not easy to meet. Because also, let's call it what it is. How often are you stuck in one place? No cell phones, no outside world, no calling your friends, no texting your mama, no going out to lunch with your boo, none of that. You are stuck in the house. You're watching them talk to other people. You're watching them. All you have, you don't even know what time it is. And all you're doing is focusing on how I feel, what I'm feeling, what's coming up for me, what are you making me feel? It's not realistic. And I think that's also why we're seeing these dynamics play out because, like, Jeremiah, to be fair, it's like, you've known this girl for a day. What else are you going to talk about besides being like, oh, we're meant for each other, right? Because they get obsessed with the idea of love. And then what happens? Who does real colors start to show? And people want to defend her. And I get that. And I don't think she's a bad person by any means. And I'm not going to talk shit about her as a person.
Right.
Her behavior is atrocious. And the way that she shows up is inappropriate and it's borderline emotionally abusive. Not to mention, did we see that when she was out with TJ, she didn't ask him one motherfucking question. Not one. Not one. Because it's not about them. It's about her and how it makes her feel.
Yes.
Yeah. The last conversation that she ended up having with him where he was like, oh, it's like platonic. And she's like, well, like, why? And I'm like, Huda, I want to love you so hard. And it's bad. Yeah. I can't.
I'm sorry, though, too. Like, your girl is Hannah, but you then flirted with Pepe behind her back, and then you voted her off. And people were like, well, she was one of 4 votes. It's like, she didn't go to bat for her.
Right. And they didn't show the deliberations, so that'll be interesting to see.
Honestly, I was thinking the same. I was like, they didn't show the deliberations in multiple things. Like when Ace voted to keep Huda on the island, I was like, why do I have a feeling that wasn't real? I'm sorry. I don't think that was real. I think that there's a lot of faking. I think the producers are playing with us.
I feel like Ace is like a producer plant or something. Like there's just the way he's been moving has been so inconsistent and weird that I'm like, there's no way that he's being real.
I do like his bluntness. That's the only thing I do like. Like, I appreciate that he went to Jeremiah and had said, like, hey, you're love bombing her. Like, that's not cool. I appreciate that part of him. But now that we've been seeing more and more, we're like, oh, I don't know what's happening here, Ace. I don't like it.
Yeah.
We're trying to adopt this mentality that not everyone is all bad or all good. And we are very aware that we're watching a television show. And we get that a lot of things are manufactured in certain ways. But, like, Huda's behavior can't be manufactured. Like, that's real. No. Ace's jealousy is real. The way a lot of people are moving, like, producers can't everyone act that,
Right.
Yeah.
Like, there's certain things that they can do, right? The only thing I'll say about Ace choosing Huda is I guess there's just this rhetoric on TikTok mostly that says that they were saying because Ace knew that Shelly was going to stand behind Huda, he just went with the woman.
Which I get, but then it goes back to him of being like, get a fucking backbone, right? Get a spine. Disagree with your partner and be like, listen, I'm sorry. I can't, that's a no for me. I'm going to go here. That's okay. We're allowed to have a disagreement, which kind of brings me back to everything is that we're in such a fucking culture now where God forbid you disagree. Yeah. God forbid. I had someone in my live the other day. I said something and she goes, I disagree. I'm going to have to remove myself. And I was like, you're that much of a snowflake that because I said I don't agree with, it was about Love is Blind. I'm like, so because I don't agree with you about a character on a fucking show, that's it. I'm dead to you. You're done. This like cancel people that don't fucking do what we want. It's okay to
Yeah.
disagree with people. It's okay to say, like, we're allowed to say, I'm allowed to say I like Ace or I don't like him and that you do and you don't like. It's okay. That doesn't make anybody a bad person. And I think that that show really exemplified that because there's a lot of people. How many times I'm like, why is anybody telling Huda, hey, that was fucked up? Like, how dare you speak to him that way? No one's stepping up because everyone's, I don't want to ruffle it. It's okay. Let's just be cool.
You're like scared.
Yeah.
Yeah.
One thing I will say is like the episode 13 where she's like going off in front of the whole villa was kind of the turning point for me to be like, whoa, we need to take a whole step back. But I was trying to like give Huda some grace, but that was kind of like the last straw. And then I really did see things like kind of the dynamic flip when like Jeremiah came to her and was like, I had to like take a moment to like reflect. And I just feel like we didn't like build a friendship first. And I want to do that. And she was just so turned off by that. I was like, whoa, this is really, really interesting seeing how their roles kind of like reversed. It was a very interesting toxic dynamic. So while I feel like Jeremiah kind of got wrongfully or like unfairly, I guess I should say, voted off, I'm really glad that that's just not on the screen anymore because it was starting to make me feel some type of way. I was like, oh, this is a little bit triggering even for me to watch.
It was uncomfortable. And especially like, and I understand, I think there's a double-edged sword. I get Ace saying, hey, he's doing the same behavior. I did. I saw that. I saw the same thing where I was like, because look, Adriana's with another guy now, and all of a sudden she's, kissing him and making out. And you're like, okay, so you guys are all kind of love bombing each other. Everybody's just swooping in. But what I didn't appreciate was I was like, but Jeremiah didn't do that with Iris. They acknowledged, they were like, I feel it. And he was just like, okay, cool. So that's where I thought he did get the short end of the stick. I think if he hadn't had Iris, I think if he had gone from Huda and just immediately went for the other bombshell and was going at 100, I could understand the like, get rid of him. Yeah. But I thought I was with you because to me, at the very least, Jeremiah kind of felt like he was trying to meet somebody, whereas Huda, to me, that's just fucking ego for me. I don't think she's doing it for the money. I don't think it's that. I think it's the fact that she just wants someone to pick her. And she doesn't, because like you said, when TJ said no, and when she said, why not? I was like coming out of my skin. I'm like, you can see he's uncomfortable. Yeah. And every time she's like, I just want to see what's in this man's head. And it's like, the dude is sitting there like this with you. He's not touching you. He's having no interest. You haven't asked one question about him. You haven't stopped to ask anything about, because it's not about them. It's about her validation and how she feels. And that's my issue with her, is that I don't think she's authentic with any of these people.
Right. She doesn't want a relationship. She wants obsession. She wants someone to be obsessed with her, and she doesn't really care about the person.
So I'm like, well, toxic is okay. And I was like,
right. It's just like the rush. It's more because for things to not be toxic, a healthy is like boring.
Yeah. Healthy is boring.
Especially when you're used to that. That's familiar.
Right.
Look at what's last season, the blonde and the Kaylor, and that was it. I was like, why can't I remember? Because they're having the new show coming out of all of them after. Yeah. And to see, I'm like, y'all are still fucking. Of course you are, because you guys are the epitome of that dynamic of you're both codependent on each other because you both need each other to continue the dynamic.
Yeah. Well, hopefully things will take a turn. I don't know. I kind of have like lost a little hope for this season. But when this episode comes out, I think we'll be either like the finale or close to the finale. So
all right.
We will see. We'll hop in. You guys can follow Sabrina's content on TikTok, and you talk about it on Instagram too. Yes.
Yeah.
She's always breaking down Love Island, like from like a mental health and dating aspect, which is really, really cool. But yeah, thank you so much for being on the podcast today. Where I kind of said it already. Where are the places where people can like find you, get in touch with your content, and learn more?
Awesome. Thank you guys. I'm really glad I got to do this with you guys. SabrinaZohar.com, the Sabrina Zohar Show on TikTok and YouTube and Instagram, all this stuff, right? If you type in my name, you'll find me somehow. And it's just, if you want, the YouTube is something that's really special. We're doing like 10-minute videos and just different shorts and the courses and all that stuff. So come on in, and we'd love to have some new friends that come and join us in the community.
Yeah, of course. Absolutely. We have been on our dating journeys, her a little bit longer. I exited like a long-term relationship and now I'm like trying to navigate this co-parenting thing while dating. So it's like a completely weird and interesting dynamic. So to be a part of a community where I'm sure there's more people like the both of us would be so exciting. Yeah.
And your podcast has just been so supportive. I had so many aha moments listening. So thank you so much for doing what you're doing and showing up and helping us in this time that's all a little bit confusing and a struggle to navigate sometimes.
Thanks, girls. I appreciate it.
We appreciate you. Thank you so much. And to our listeners, we will talk to you next week.
Bye.
Thanks for tuning in to this week's EA meeting.
If you liked this episode, please share it with a friend and leave a 5-star rating and review on Apple or Spotify. We'd love to hear from you.
You can follow us on Instagram and TikTok at Empaths and On Pod.
Don't forget to follow us wherever you listen to podcasts or subscribe to our YouTube channel and turn on the notification bell so you're the first to know when we release a new episode.
We'll meet you back here on the Green Velvet Couch next time.
Bye, feelers!